Right, it is time for something of a book list, but more like a bookshelf tour, and it could be a tag. I'm not positive, but it might be. And whatever it is what we're doing today. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm here today with something a little bit different. I was supposed to film my TBR today, but I actually haven't created my TBR, so I needed something to film, and I went to Twitter for help, and you guys delivered. So we are going to look at 6 different items from my shelves. I asked for 6 numbers on Twitter, and I got them. And we are going to look at 2 books from my fiction shelf, that is my red shelf, 2 books from my nonfiction / miscellaneous red shelf, and 2 movies from my movie shelf of individual films as opposed to film and TV series. So that is what we are going to do, and I hope that you enjoy it. And I don't know if this is officially a tag. I think I've seen something like this on Karen from Rather Be Reading's channel. I'll link it up above if I can find it. If it is an actual tag, I am so sorry that I am just totally grabbing this idea. If I can find the original creator or anything like that, I will leave it down below, and I'll leave Karen's video down below. That was the inspiration, because I'm just like, I need to film something. What am I gonna do? And then I'm like, ooh, I can ask for numbers. Ooh, so I hope nobody was thinking this was an unwrapping, because I don't think I'm doing those anymore. So I hope that's not a disappointment, and I hope that we can enjoy looking at some stuff that I actually have either already read or already seen, because sometimes these are things that we don't talk about as much, and I know that I don't film in front of these shelves because, well, one of them's above my head. Actually, most of them are above my head because I'm short. Let's get to the movies and the books. We're going to start with the fiction and then go to the nonfiction and then to the movies. That was a really long intro. First up, we have number 31 and on my fiction shelf, and this was picked by Reader on the Run. I will leave the links to everyone's Twitter down below, and thank you everyone for giving me a number so that I had something to film. I really appreciate it. So, Reader on the Run picked 31, and that is The Book of Irish Legends by Ian Zachzerk. Oh, I don't know how to say that last name. With illustrations by Emma Garner. And this one, I actually picked this up at Value Village a couple years ago, and I picked it up for art fodder. I was going to cut this up because there's all of these great illustrations, and it would be fun to use for collage or to make into cards. But being the person that I am, and being the fact that it's about legends, and Irish legends at that, I wanted to read it. So I did, and once I read it, I wanted to keep it. So what can you do? We just are who we are. And yeah, and I had a lot of fun reading this, and I think it's actually, oh look, there's a goat on a table. How Darmond Got His Love Spot. Now, I don't remember exactly what that story is, but now I want to read it again. I'm not sure. But I think this is actually, the illustrations are mostly collage, because if you can look at the tunics, it looks like it's painted pages and then probably cut together and then made into illustrations, which is an interesting idea. And yeah, so it's really... yeah, and I like reading about myths and legends and folklore. This is actually from a very small section on myths, legends, and folklore. I have some, and then there's some stuff that I never know quite where to put, because I have this, and then I have stuff like Arthurian stuff, which I never know, history, not history, where to go. I usually put it at like the bookend, like I think I put like the Arthurian and then myths and legends, and then I have stuff like the Odyssey, or the Tale of the Green Knight, or Vinland Sagas. I can never quite just like, where do you put this stuff? So, but it's a subject that I actually really like. I like stories like this, myths, legends, folklore, and then like the ones that are they history, are they not history? I like all of that. So that's why I only have two shelves of read books, and I have a section on that. So yeah, so if you have any suggestions for other books on myths, legends, folklore, I would love to hear them. And I haven't read any, I think this is the only one that I've read on Irish legends, although they do sometimes come up in like film or TV, especially anything that's urban fantasy. It can definitely come up in terms of different stories. And yeah, so this is, now I want to read it again. Look what happens. Oh, the illustrator has done, I think this done a tarot deck. Or Emma Gardner is an accomplished illustrator of cards and books, including angel messages, astrology for living, and the art of tarot. I wonder if they've done a tarot deck. That would be interesting. So yeah, so there we go. So that is the Book of Irish Legends. Next up on the fiction shelf, Maya from Maya Reads picked number 42. And I wonder, did you pick that because it is the answer to everything? But if not, the answer it was here is Away by Jane Urkhart. So this is a Canadian fiction novel. It actually has a bit of an Irish connection because it is partially set in Ireland and partially set in Canada. It looks like it's a generational story. It's so funny, when I read the back of this, I'm like, wow, that's not really, although it's all true, as far as I remember, it's not what I took from the book. But I have a really hard time explaining Canadian novels, both in terms of the plot and then also the process of reading them, because Canadian novels take me longer. It usually takes me 2 months minimum, unless it's really small. This is like 360 or something pages. 356, and they just have a different rhythm to them. I find like they just have a different, like it takes a while to get into them, but then once you're in, you are like really into it. At least with me, that's how I find the experience of reading them. And I thought this was really touching, evocative, mysterious. There is a bit of a folklorish, mystic element to it as well. Like it's not 100% necessarily realistic, but I like that. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I think I did a review of this. If I did, I will link it up to the cards up above, because I did release all of my old book reviews. I privatized everything last year when I went off, when I privatized everything because of the whole COPPA thing or whatever. But I did recently release all of my old book reviews. So if you're curious as to my thoughts on lots of books, there's a fair amount of them. There's probably more than 50, maybe closer to 70. So, and this was one that actually wasn't even part of a project. It's not on my those books list. But I do like to review Canadian fiction if I can, because I do feel like it isn't talked about as much, even though this was a wildly popular book at the time. It came out in 1993, and it co-won the Trillium Award with Margaret Atwood's The Robber Bride, and I'm surprised. I would be surprised if that's the only award it won. It was just everywhere, and I really, really loved it. 5 stars, just really good. And yeah, so those are the two from my fiction shelf. Amazing that they have a connection, and are very different. Next up on the non-fiction shelf, Bethany from Thanie's Thoughts picked 22, and 22 ended up being Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, Ghosts of Evil's Past. This is the annual from 1994. Look at that. It was a whole $4 Canadian. Look at that, $2.95 versus $4 Canadian. Although I got a discount because I was working at a bookstore. So this is what I don't remember this. I have read this. I don't remember it off the top of my head that well. A couple of years ago, I did work through all of my owned comics and graphic novels and read one a month until they were all read. So I read this that year. I think it wasn't last year. It was probably the year before. But yeah, I do like Daredevil as a character. I only have a couple of Daredevil comics. I'm actually, here's some ads. Got some Spider-Man ads and some Marvel Universe ads with a drain. I don't even know. Wow. That's some intense stuff. Yeah, so, and I think the first comic I ever bought was Daredevil. It wasn't this one. It was, and I didn't know at the time that they were continuous stories, like that you're only getting part of the story. And so, oh, look at that green. Look at that green. There's a really, I know that there's one. Oh yeah, this one. I love it. Not only do I like this, the whole shadow thing with the rocks in the back with this silhouette looks awesome. And then look at that. Look at that gradation of color. Oh, I am a sucker for gradation of color, if you didn't know. And analogous color stories. Yes, I love both of those things. So so I have a couple of Daredevils. This is one of them, and I did read it a couple years ago, but I don't remember it. I do sometimes get frustrated with single issues because it's a continuous story, so you gotta commit, and they are a bit on the pricey side of things. But I think with an annual, I think this was one sort of more contained story, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But now I tend to read all comics digitally through Hoopla and through the library on my tablet, and that is, for me, honestly, such a great way to go. They don't get dusty, this is like, I don't even know how I feel about the fact that stuff that I bought is now aged. Yep, should I have taken better care of it? Probably, but I do have some comics that are in bags with boards. I do. The ones that are super, super special to me. This one I just bought, I read, I kept. It's not, it doesn't have a super specific connection, but it's Daredevil. I like Daredevil, so I kept it. And I only have I have about this many comics, and then I have I think one graphic novel. So it's one that made the cut. All the cuts of comics over the years. I never had a huge selection, and I don't think I go much thinner than I have now. But I do like, and of course I love art. And so I like having visual arts in so many different ways around me, so it made the cut. Next up, we have, for my nonfiction shelf, we have the number 33, which was picked by Grief and Creativity, and that is Bird by Anne Lamott, Some Instructions on Writing and Life. National bestseller. So this is a nonfiction book about writing. I did read it a couple of years ago I think it was an unwrapping that I read, and it's on one of my nonfiction unwrappings, and I remember it didn't take too long, and it is mostly centered on fiction. Like there's a whole sections on plot and other stuff, writing groups, that's not necessarily fiction, plot, characters, and at the time when I got this, because I got this as a present, and at the time I was writing, but from the perspective of nonfiction, because it was during when I had my film blog, and so this was one of the writing books that everyone loves, and it's interesting to see, because even just one of the chapter titles lets you know, one of them is called Broccoli. I don't remember the story behind that. What am I trying to say? One of them has a swear word in it. And, which doesn't bother me, but I know it is not something for everyone. Yeah. So that's one of the chapters. So, and I think it's really sort of, shot from the hip kind of advice type stuff. I'm trying to remember. It actually now has been a couple years since I read this one. And so that is Bird by Anne Lamott. Now we get on to the movies. I'm so excited about this. I don't talk about movies as much, and I do like to talk about movies. I'm trying to figure out the best ways to incorporate that into the channel. And this is just, I don't know, I just wanted to, so here we are. So number 15 on my movie shelf, this was picked by Alana Awesome, Wolf and Word, and it is, I was so thrilled to see that not only it was this movie, it was this edition of this movie, not that I have multiple editions, I might. Anyway, but it is The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. And this one is so awesome because it has this, the plastic, what's this called? Slipcover is like, so you see the reveal. So this might have spoilers. Does it have spoilers? Not really. So, The Thing. The awesome Kurt Russell, and then the inside. I love The Thing. So this is John Carpenter's The Thing. This is the one that came out in the 80s. Is it the 80s? It is. I think it's like 80, maybe 84 or 82. It's not the 70s. It's early 80s. R. Yeah, this one's R. This one's pretty intense. This is copyright 2004. Well, that's when, that was a different copyright. So anyway, I love this movie. It is a horror movie and a science fiction movie. It sort of really is a combination of the two. If you have not seen this, I would highly recommend it. It is so good. I watched it, and originally I borrowed it from the library on VHS, and I watched it on my little 13-inch TV, and it was almost completely black, and I still loved it. The soundtrack is great. It's simplistic, but it is great. It has amazing tension, a good story. And I think one of the things, now this is a minor spoiler for it, so I'm going to just move this out of shot, so if you don't want to hear this, it's also a spoiler for something else, so I don't know if I can say it. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of shot, and then I'm going to say something that's a minor spoiler for this and a TV episode. Okay, so we're into spoiler territory. One of the things that I didn't know about The Thing is that there is an episode of The X-Files called Ice, I believe, in the first season, I think, and it is a bit of an homage to The Thing. And I had seen that episode, and it's one of my favorite X-Files episodes, like just absolute favorite episodes. So I saw that, and then I saw The Thing, and usually you would think that would be like a horrible way to experience that, but it wasn't, because there were all of these things that I knew but not super well that connected the two things together. And anyway, it was just a very strange order in which to watch something, but I ended up absolutely loving it. Okay, and so now back to non-spoilery The Thing. So I absolutely love this. It was actually the first movie that I watched on when I bought a big TV, and it's got great, like it's set in Antarctica, and so it's a lot of white, a lot of blue, which I tend to like. I like things that are set in snowy landscapes, I don't know if it's because I'm Canadian, I don't know. And it's Kurt Russell. There's other people in this I love too. Oh wow, they only say Kurt Russell. The back only has Kurt Russell. That's 1982. This has extra stuff in it, an 80-minute documentary. Wow, I have not seen that. I don't tend to, when I was reviewing film, I watched all of the extras, so that sort of sucked the energy out of watching extras for me a little bit. But anyway, if you have not seen this, I definitely recommend it. It is quite intense, both in the level of tension and then also visually. But I love it so much. So, and I also saw it at ThingFest at the Bloor Theater. They showed a 35mm, which again, it was like completely like red, like it lost all of its color and was almost completely red. And so, but it was on the big screen, and one of the actors was there, and it was so cool. So, and I think they had some of the props or something. Anyway, it was really cool. So, yeah, so that is The Thing. Wonderful. Now I should leave it out and watch it, because I might have talked about it. Actually, I think I did talk about it in 2015, and I probably just gushed like I did now. But if I did release that video, I will link it up above if you want to hear me talk more about The Thing. And then the last number we have is 19, which was picked by Di of Dia Isis. 19. Hi, Di. And that is Thor. Yes, the Thor from the Marvel Universe. So this is kind of series, but I don't actually have the whole series. So I have some of the, I don't know how many I got through. I don't know how many, I have Thor. I don't even have Guardians of the Galaxy. See, this is what happens when they put these movies on Netflix. I stop buying them. But this is the original Thor, the first one. I absolutely love this movie so much. I haven't loved all of the movies in the Marvel Universe, and I didn't love the second Thor, The Dark World, but this one is so good. It's a really, really great character study in terms of the character of Thor. And of course, Chris Hemsworth he's just awesome, right? He just really is. Like, you can't really go wrong. But I love his character story throughout this work, because it's not only it's not really an origin story, actually. It is kind of, but not not really for him. And so you do get background that you need for like the other movies and stuff like that, but just seeing his arc, his character arc, was wonderful, and he is a wonderful character. So I just absolutely loved it, and I did rewatch this one a fair amount. Oh my god, though, look at his arms! Look at his arms! Like seriously, how much do you have to work out to get your arms to do that? I will never work out that much though. Not that I don't want to, it's for different reasons, but I still find it inspiring. If you ever need inspiration for working out, oh my goodness, follow The Rock on Instagram. Although apparently he's like the most followed, I don't know if he, like, American man, or I can't remember, but he does the work. When he works out, like, he really does the work. Anyway, I'm off topic talking about The Rock. So anyway, so Thor, I love this movie. I don't really have too much to say about it. I imagine most people have seen this, and I love it so much. And it's, like, I did find with the Marvel Universe, some of the, like, especially when we get into some of the sequels, and then we get into the fact that you have to watch all of them, again, just like the X-Men comics, I don't love that. And I like a lot of starts, you know, getting the band together, although this band was already together, his group of friends was already together, but I guess it sort of introduces him into the Earth world as opposed to Asgard, and of course, you know, Asgard. Shannon's gonna be happy if we're talking about stuff like Asgard. So anyway, so there you go. Those are my 6. It's pretty interesting to look at the sort of random selections. We have some mythology, we have Canadian fiction, we have Daredevil, so some action comics, non-fiction writing, and sci-fi horror from the 80s. I think that is actually a pretty clear picture of a lot of the things that I love. So there you go. Thank you so much to everyone that gave a number. Let me know if you'd like to see another video like this. I only have so many things out, but as I said, these aren't necessarily things that I end up talking about a lot. And so it was fun to do. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Take care.